coming to us all the way from a quiet, picturesque village in North India. Now, on the surface, this might just seem like a simple tale about a 70-year-old woman named Shanti Devi. But as we peel back the layers of this source material, we're going to uncover a seriously actionable psychological tool for your daily resilience. If you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the crazy, relentless pace of modern life, trust me, the insights we're extracting today are going to be a real game changer for you.
So, let's start by looking at this really stark paradox. Picture a guy named Samir. He honestly represents a lot of us, right? He's educated, lives in a wealthy city, and has literally every modern comfort and convenience you could possibly ask for. But the source tells us he feels deeply restless and just completely dissatisfied inside. Now contrast that with Shanti Devi. She's a 70-year-old village woman, snow-white hair, absolutely no large house, no farmland, and basically zero money to speak of. And yet she just radiates this profound peace and has this constant, gentle smile that, let's be honest, you rarely ever see on the faces of the ultra-wealthy.
And right there, that illustrates the central mystery of our explainer today, the paradox. Samir looks at Shanti Devi and he is just burning with one massive question. How can someone with absolutely nothing be so incredibly happy? I mean, he's surrounded by city lights and endless amenities, but he's miserable. She's surrounded by poverty, yet she's smiling every single day. What is her secret? Well, to figure out that profound joy, we got to go back and understand her history first.
Which brings us to Section 1, the Case Study in Resilience, a History of Tragedy.
Because as we look at her past, it becomes super clear that Shanti Devi's peace is definitely not born from naive ignorance. She hasn't lived in some sheltered bubble. Her happiness is a hard-earned resilience that came from intense hardship. She faced a staggering sequence of losses. First, a devastating flood hits her village, washing away the family farm and completely destroying their home. Then, driven into deep poverty by that flood, she can't afford medical treatment for her husband and he passes away. Following that awful tragedy, one of her 2 sons just abandons her, leaves for the city and never looks back. And finally, her remaining son tragically loses his life in a road accident. Literally, her entire world was dismantled piece by piece, leaving her completely alone in absolute despair.
When Samir hears all of this, he is just stunned. He naturally assumes she must have been entirely broken from the inside out. And you know what? He's absolutely right. She experienced many dark, sleepless nights spent weeping in total isolation and heartbreak. She didn't just shrug off these tragedies like some robot. She broke down entirely. She cried for days on end, completely consumed by the agonizing reality of losing her family and her home. It's so incredibly important to remember this, because her ultimate happiness isn't about just ignoring pain. It's all about what she decided to do after those tears had fallen.
Moving into Section 2, the turning point, a radical shift in perspective.
This brings us to the absolute pivot point in the narrative. One day, right in the middle of her weeping, she asked herself one incredibly blunt question. Will my crying and suffering bring my lost family and my home back? And the answer from her logical mind was an immediate, resounding no. It was this stark, cold realization that her tears, no matter how justified they were, literally could not change the past, that became her awakening.
But here's the beautiful part. Her heart didn't just stop at no. Her heart answered with this incredible realization. Yes, there is still much left. I have the beautiful morning sun, the chirping village birds, and most importantly, my own breath. Think about the power in those words for a second. She deliberately shifted her entire focus away from the massive, irreplaceable things she had lost and forcibly directed her attention right to the sweet, small, and beautiful things she still possessed. The simple, everyday act of breathing became an anchor for her gratitude.
So her transformation was actually kind of mechanical. Her old perspective was focusing entirely on what was lost and gone forever, which, let's be real, is just a recipe for endless suffering. But her new perspective became actively searching for and cherishing what remains right now in the present moment. This wasn't just some fleeting, oh, think positive moment. This was a deliberate, disciplined rewiring of her attention. She basically made a contract with herself to hunt for the good in every single day. Let's look at how she actually applied this in real life. When it rained, her default reaction used to be crying over the memory of her ruined house and her broken roof. But with this new perspective, when it rained, she actively chose to focus on enjoying the sweet, lovely scent of the wet earth instead. She literally reframed her daily physical reality, swapping out a painful memory for a pleasant present sensation.
And she kept this practice going. When the sun shined, instead of feeling the harsh glare as a reminder of her inescapable poverty and lack of shelter, she reframed it entirely.
She chose to appreciate the sun for the warm, physical comfort it gave to her tired old bones. She took the environment around her, the very same environment that had caused her so much pain during those floods, and turned it into a continuous source of deep, physical comfort and gratitude.
Now, obviously, on days when there just wasn't an obvious reason to smile, she relied on this fundamental truth, understanding that bad times, just like a cold, dark night, will eventually turn into a bright morning. She fully accepted that hardships happen. She wasn't living in denial, right? But she firmly believed in the cyclical nature of life. She knew for a fact that relief always, always follows the storm, and that gave her the patience to endure those darker days without losing that underlying peace.
Which leads us to Section 3, the actionable takeaway, the 3 good things practice.
So this is the specific practical secret that Shanti Devi finally shared with Samir. It's the tactical engine behind that radiant smile. And it's a routine that literally any of us can adopt tonight. Here are the exact steps. Step 1. Right before going to sleep, just pause and reflect on your entire day. Step 2. Identify exactly 3 good things that happened, no matter how tiny they might seem. And Step 3. Sincerely thank the universe for those specific little joys. It's highly structured, yet incredibly simple. It basically forces your brain to scan the past 24 hours for positives right before you close your eyes.
Now, if you're wondering what kind of things she actually looked for, check out these tiny joys. We're not talking about huge life milestones here, like getting a promotion or buying a fancy new car. It's stuff like someone smiled and said hello to her. The morning roti, her simple flatbread, didn't burn on the fire. Hearing a bird sing outside her door. She attached immense value to the mundane. By lowering the bar for what counts as a good thing, she basically guaranteed that she would find success in this practice every single day.
Listening to Shanti Devi explain all this, a profound calm washed over Samir. He realized that true wealth is not found in money, or luxury, or the city's glare. True wealth is actually found inside our own minds, through perspective and gratitude. The source notes that Samir immediately adopted this practice into his own life, and eventually the entire village caught on to Shanti Devi's incredibly warm and positive mindset.
So, the ultimate takeaway here is pretty clear, right? Happiness is an internal choice. It's not dictated by our external circumstances, no matter how bleak they might seem in the moment. As a modern society, we have this profound tendency to always want more, to constantly fixate on the gap between what we have and what we desire. But Shanti Devi's story teaches us that we absolutely must stop crying over what is missing and actively start celebrating what is presently right in front of us.
And that leaves us with one final, deeply personal question for you to consider tonight. What are your 3 small joys today? I challenge you to take Shanti Devi's sweet, life-changing practice and actually try it. Before you go to sleep tonight, find your perfectly cooked roti, find your smiling neighbor, find your sunshine. It completely shifts your perspective. And as we've learned today, perspective is absolutely everything. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep seeking out the good, and I will see you next time.